You have been called the strangest man on television. Do you like that? Do you like that moniker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my life, in my personal life, I'm always drawn to the eccentric and...
What really happened to James Spader? The story Hollywood tried to bury. Some actors don't enter Hollywood, they hover above it, playing by rules no one else dares to touch. Benicio del Toro is one of them, delivering performances so elliptical it feels like he's operating on a private frequency only he can access. Then there's Tilda Swinton, whose presence is so otherworldly you half expect her to vanish back into another dimension once the scene ends. And right alongside them stands James Spader, an actor who didn't just ignore the path to stardom, he rejected it entirely. While others chased heroes and heartthrobs, Spader ran straight toward characters your therapist would warn you about, morally slippery, psychologically twisted, and deeply unsettling. That fearless choice didn't limit his career, it defined it. In this video, we're diving into the career of James Spader. How he forged his reputation by going against expectations, why he's always existed just outside Hollywood's inner circle, what pulls him toward characters living in moral gray areas, and where this endlessly intriguing actor stands today. James Todd Spader entered the world in Boston, music rising, in 1960, born to two teachers, a beginning far more ordinary than the career that would eventually follow. That detail isn't just background noise, it's a quiet clue to the kind of mind he came from, an upbringing where ideas mattered, and sharp conversation was part of daily life. Long before Hollywood ever came calling, he was walking the halls of Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts, one of America's most elite prep schools, a place less about dreaming big and more about ending up exactly where power expects you to be. It's the sort of institution built to funnel students straight into the Ivy League, then onward into boardrooms, government offices, and circles of influence most people never see. And then, at just 17, James Spader detonated that future. He walked away from school entirely, choosing New York City and the uncertainty of acting over the safety of a guaranteed path. That moment marks the first true crossroads of his life, a conscious step off the polished highway and into the unknown. The promise of college vanished, replaced by instability. Prestige disappeared, replaced by survival. He did whatever it took to stay afloat, teaching yoga, driving trucks, cleaning out stables as a stable boy. These weren't poetic, starving artist fantasies. They were exhausting, physical, unglamorous jobs. And for someone raised among future senators and CEOs, those choices would have seemed almost unthinkable to the peers he left behind. Proof that from the very beginning, Spader was willing to burn the map everyone else was following. By the early 1980s, James Spader wasn't chasing Hollywood. Hollywood was quietly circling him. Doors stopped resisting, roles started appearing almost on cue. On screen, he carried the unmistakable markers of a traditional leading man, but with a twist. That piercing, unblinking stare, that cool, upper-class composure, the kind of presence cameras don't just capture, they surrender to. In Mannequin, 1987, he sharpened his image into something darker, playing the slick and slimy Vice President Richards, less human, more a living symbol of corporate arrogance. In Tough Turf, he leaned into privilege as a weapon, the spoiled rich antagonist who didn't need strength to dominate. And in Pretty in Pink, he became Steph, the wealthy prep who crushes people casually, almost recreationally. These weren't complex performances, not yet. They were archetypes. But they did something vital. They set a pattern. Spader became the man audiences loved to hate. Then Wall Street arrived. Under Oliver Stone's direction, Spader added something new, a subtle, unsettling edge that felt uniquely his. You could study him closely and still never be certain what his character was thinking. That ambiguity lingered long after the scene ended. The true turning point came later, in 1987. With Less Than Zero, Spader played a dealer, stripped of flash or excess, just calm, controlled menace. No theatrics, just quiet danger. And suddenly, his screen presence felt colder, sharper, more deliberate. By 1989, everything shifted. Steven Soderbergh's debut film, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, premiered at Sundance, detonated expectations, and went on to win the Palme d'Or, sparking the American independent film movement and locking in James Spader's next evolution. Step into the unsettling world of Graham Dalton, a drifting man whose only form of intimacy comes from recording women as they share their most private sexual histories. James Spader doesn't just play him, he becomes him. The character is quietly disturbing, voyeuristic, and manipulates emotions with a subtle, almost invisible hand. Graham represents a rare, unsettling form of masculine dysfunction, a man who has over-intellectualized himself out of genuine human connection. He crafts an elaborate system that feels intimate, yet keeps the real him safely hidden. Every flicker of Spader's gaze, every carefully measured pause exposes inner turmoil with haunting precision. His soft-spoken, almost gentle delivery only amplifies the character's chilling fragility. At just 29, this role thrusts Spader into serious critical acclaim, winning awards usually reserved for the most unforgettable performances. But rather than chasing conventional Hollywood stardom, this success cements his distinct instincts and fearless approach to acting. The film industry now knows exactly what Spader brings to the table: raw intensity, intellectual depth, and a willingness to dive headfirst into morally gray, discomforting territory, leaving audiences both captivated and unsettled. The film didn't just make waves, it shook the very foundations of American independent cinema, proving that quiet, character-driven tales of messy psychology could conquer both critics and box office alike. For James Spader, it wasn't just a hit, it was liberation. Finally, he had permission to chase roles that made audiences squirm, characters that lived in the shadowy corners of human desire and fear. After Sex, Lies, and Videotape, the easy path beckoned: romantic comedies, glossy studio leads, conventional hero roles. But Spader didn't walk that road. He dove deeper, chasing obsession, power, and identity with a fearless intensity. He had staked a claim, and he wasn't leaving it unexplored. By the time White Palace arrived in 1990, Spader had already begun showing his range. He played Max, a tightly wound widower drawn to an older, working-class waitress. Scarred, restrained, and achingly real, Max was more than a romantic lead. He was a study in human vulnerability. Here, Spader began peeling back the layers of familiar archetypes, revealing the nuance beneath the surface. That approach became his signature, choosing psychological complexity over commercial safety, tension over comfort, depth over convention. Then came Bad Influence, also in 1990, where he became Michael, a mild-mannered analyst whose orderly world collapses after meeting Alex, a magnetic, dangerous drifter who drags him into a whirlpool of temptation and chaos. From the start, one thing was clear: Spader wasn't interested in playing the hero everyone expected. He was fascinated by what lurked beneath, the irresistible darkness within ordinary lives. James Spader has an uncanny way of making you lean in, even as every instinct screams, danger. He dissects the quiet unraveling of a character with surgical precision, showing exactly why Michael can't resist, even when the alarms are deafening. Fast forward to 1993's Dream Lover and the game flips. Spader plays a man obsessed with his new wife, only to discover she might be the one pulling the strings. The film dives headfirst into paranoia, suffocating control, and the dark ways desire can twist into possession. These roles weren't just characters, they were Spader's playground for probing identity itself. He exposes how people mold versions of themselves to manipulate, seduce, or survive. Often, his characters blur the line between predator and prey, leaving audiences guessing who truly holds the power. Unlike typical erotic thrillers, Spader brings intellect and subtlety, pulling back the curtain on the machinery behind the mask. Then came 1994's Stargate, his biggest mainstream box office hit, and his closest he ever got to a classic Hollywood hero. As Dr. Daniel Jackson, the skeptical linguist unlocking a portal to another world, Spader becomes the brain in the room, never slipping into cliché, never just a sidekick. Opposite Kurt Russell's military steel presence, he injects warmth, curiosity, and a vulnerability rare in his later work. And here's the boldest move. While most actors would have jumped onto the blockbuster treadmill, Spader deliberately stepped off, choosing complexity over convention, intrigue over formula. James Spader treated Stargate like a brief detour, nodded politely at blockbuster fame, and then vanished back into darker, more challenging territory. In the early 1990s, the erotic thriller was king, and Spader quickly became its most magnetic, unpredictable force. These weren't films chasing awards, they were designed to thrill, yet he infused each role with a psychological depth that lingered long after the credits rolled. Then came David Cronenberg's Crash, where Spader pushed into the extreme edges of psychosexual obsession. Playing a TV director drawn into a subculture obsessed with car crashes and arousal, he navigates shocking, taboo territory with chilling precision. It's disturbing material, yet Spader's cool, clinical detachment transforms it into something hypnotic rather than exploitative. By the late 1990s, Spader was unstoppable, appearing in Keys to Tulsa, Driftwood, and the quirky double act of Critical Care and Curtain Call, each role expanding his inventive range. But it was Secretary in 2002 that defined the era. As E. Edward Grey, he enters an unconventional BDSM relationship with his secretary, Maggie Gyllenhaal. In lesser hands, Grey could have been a one-dimensional predator, but Spader turns him into something startlingly human, a layered, complex figure. The film becomes a subversive, tender love story anchored entirely by his performance. Across these roles, Spader established himself as cinema's ultimate investigator of erotic power and psychosexual tension. In Wolf, 1994, he plays Richard, the ruthless, ambitious protege to Jack Nicholson's Will Randall, revealing yet another facet of his endlessly compelling, shadowy screen persona. He bursts onto the screen as the corporate villain everyone loves to hate, a mentor turned nemesis who ignites Will's savage, wolfish quest for revenge. By 2003, Spader had plunged into the practice's 8th season, embodying Alan Shure, a lawyer whose brilliance bends the rules and whose moral compass twists like light through fractured glass. The character gripped viewers so completely that David E. Kelley spun him off into his own series, Boston Legal. Shure doesn't choose clients based on ethics. He chooses the ones that thrill him, turning morality into a flexible concept. Words are his arsenal, his charm a weapon. He can talk himself into or out of nearly anything. Yet behind the razor-sharp wit and endless performances, there's a profound loneliness, a longing to be truly seen beyond the act. And then there's Denny Crane, played by William Shatner, the unlikely partner who becomes Shure's mirror and anchor. Together they are two fractured men, discovering a rare honesty they can only share with each other. With this dynamic, Boston Legal proved something crucial. Spader could captivate millions without ever diluting the unsettling, unpredictable essence that makes him unforgettable. In 2013, the moment James Spader appeared as Raymond Reddington on NBC's The Blacklist, television changed, and so did Spader's career. Red isn't just a character, he's a brilliant former government agent turned criminal mastermind who walks straight into the FBI's grasp, offering the world's most dangerous secrets in exchange for something only he knows. What makes Red mesmerizing isn't just his crimes or cunning, it's Spader's signature touch, turning even the most complicated exposition into spellbinding entertainment. Every line from Red feels like a performance, a slow dance of words. Spader manipulates pacing, lingers on unexpected syllables, and emphasizes details with the precision of a master musician. Plot-heavy monologues? He makes them feel like poetry. Across 10 seasons and more than 200 episodes, The Blacklist didn't just give Spader his longest-running role, it cemented Red as one of the most unforgettable figures in modern television. Off-screen, Spader is just as enigmatic as Red. Rare interviews are cryptic, offering glimpses into his mind without ever revealing it. Personal life? Nearly untouchable. Questions about his craft or choices are met with abstract, circling answers, mysterious, elusive, and undeniably Spader-esque. It's as if the actor and the character share the same DNA of intrigue, keeping audiences guessing both on and off the screen. For James Spader, a character is never just written on the page, it's constructed from the outside in as much as the inside out. He approaches acting like an engineer deconstructing a machine, breaking down every nuance, every rhythm, every invisible mechanism that makes a scene click. Off-screen, his life is grounded in New York, deliberately separate from the glitzy swirl of Los Angeles, with 2 marriages behind him and 3 sons at home. Spader has always championed the power of solitude, often noting how Hollywood's constant social demands can feel suffocating. For him, acting is more than performance. It's a lens into the depths of human emotion and psychology, while also offering a protective buffer from the outside world. Across 40 years, his choices reveal a rare consistency, a careful, deliberate path carved out with both intellect and instinct. Then came 2015, when Spader plunged into the blockbuster universe as Ultron in Avengers: Age of Ultron. It was a departure from his usual cerebral indie roles, yet he attacked it with the same meticulous intensity, donning a motion capture suit to imbue the AI villain with eerily human movements. The result? Ultron wasn't just CGI. He became a darkly witty, menacing presence, a character pulsing with Spader's signature unsettling charisma, proving once again that even in a world of digital spectacle, Spader's craft is unmistakably alive. At 64, Spader is Hollywood's rare enigma, a star who plays by no one's rules but his own. He never chased fame, never bowed to celebrity pressure, yet he has crafted a body of work that is instantly recognizable, unmistakably Spader. Even in fleeting moments, like his razor-sharp portrayal of politician W.N. Bilbo in Spielberg's Lincoln, he leaves a mark, turning history into something alive, slippery, and entirely human. For over 40 years, he has been obsessed with power, how it seized, twisted, and surrendered. Nearly every character he embodies is caught in the machinery of manipulation, yet Spader never judges. Instead, he peers beneath the surface, uncovering the wound that drives choices, the urgent need that fuels every act, the hidden heartbeat behind every performance. In every role, he reveals not just a character, but the fragile, compelling humanity at its core. Few actors in modern television obsess over identity the way Spader does. He's fascinated by the masks we wear, the roles we play, and how carefully we construct who we appear to be. But what makes his career truly remarkable isn't just the brilliance of individual performances, though many are unforgettable. It's the indelible mark he leaves on the art itself. His influence is everywhere, shaping the rise of the anti-hero, the kind of complex protagonist who refuses to be neatly labeled good or bad. He inhabits the articulate monster, the magnetic predator, the cunning manipulator, and somehow we root for them anyway. Spader teaches us to sit with discomfort, to confront the humanity in characters we'd normally dismiss as villains. Walter White, Don Draper, and countless iconic figures all carry whispers of the territory Spader fearlessly mapped first. Even now, the future of his roles remains a mystery, tightly guarded in classic Spader fashion. That relentless consistency, that refusal to bend or compromise, is a power all its own. And it's exactly why we can't take our eyes off him.